this has been coming. This has been coming. And there is not a better ball-winning midfielder in the country right now. I'd say for the last year, maybe 18 months. If that gathers pace, watch out, by the way. Watch out for those two, that pivot. Because if those two sit together, wow.
We've got to look at this fixture running in the Premier League and say we can go and win 5 games in a row and put ourselves back in the position where we really should be. And I feel like James, even though he's never played there before, his positional versatility is ridiculous.
And this is high praise, and I don't want to put too much pressure on him. But young Rio Ferdinand, when I used to see him at West Ham when he first got the first team.
And look at that at the end, like the passion, the connection that he's got for the game and the team. You don't just rip that apart and replace it with someone new.
Maresca, give him huge credit for that. That is a A+ performance.
Hello and welcome to Inside Chelsea, the show for Chelsea fans by Chelsea fans. This show is brought to you by talkSPORT Bet. I'm Olivia Buzaglo and I'm joined by two very, very happy Chelsea fans. Former Chelsea defender Jason Cundy and broadcaster and lifelong Chelsea fan Matisse as well. This is going to be a good episode. Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1. But before we get into how we won that game so brilliantly in the last minute, first of all, we have to start with this. This is Jason Cundy commentating for the Chelsea official app. I'm not sure we can call it commentating. You can judge for yourself. Take a look at this when Esteval's winner went in.
Mark Cucurella pulls it back. Esteval went in with it. It's stopping time. Esteval! And the Matthew on again. And it's Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1.
You lose your mind.
The Blues lead the champions and there's only a minute or two to go. The Blues lead.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Jace, you lost your mind, you lost your microphone, you lost your headphones.
Yeah.
You just ended up with a wire in your hand.
Just a wire. I saw you after the game, never said. I told him the wire. I didn't know what else to do with it. It's one of those moments, right, that is what football is about. Those moments, they don't come along that often, every season. And when they do, that's people moan and complain about VAR taking the spontaneity away from us fans celebrating. And that was one of those moments, even though I was working as a fan, you lose it. And it's the best feeling because that's why we go to football matches. We want that moment, that feeling to celebrate unbridled joy, the joy and the absolute pleasure. And I did lose my mind. And, I looked at Cucurella, he looked onside to me, and I thought, and then you got Maresca sprinting down the touchline, got people going crazy. That's what football's about.
Yeah.
All right? And that is if we ever lose that, then football's gone.
Yeah, absolute ecstasy. I was cheering so loudly that you actually start to hurt your head. Like you can actually feel your brain cells bashing against your skull. And Maresca running up and down the touchline, that is like peak proper Chelsea as well. How many managers have we had do that over the years? So, and the fact that it was Esteval as well, who we know has been knocking on the door for a goal all season. He's shown his glimpses and moments. And for him to go and get the winner like that is just incredible. He's properly announced himself. So,
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
It felt like there was only one team, Jace, in that second half, especially the last 15 minutes, actually coincides when Esteval came onto the pitch, that wanted to go and win that game. And Jamie Carragher said it after. That last 15 minutes from Chelsea was so impressive. They didn't stop. They didn't take the point. We went for it. And actually, Jace, we got what we deserved in the end. And that was all 3 points.
Liv, I totally agree with you. But in those moments, even though you feel that we're probably more likely to get the next goal, you never quite know. And there was 1 or 2 little moments where they got a 3v4 against us or 4v3 in there, and they never quite made the most of it. Then we come again. It was like a wave. And Mamardashvili has made a couple of good saves. One to his left with Jamie Gittins that come off the bench. One down to his right with Esteval. So the subs made an impact, but the impact I felt of, and it might have been slightly fortuitous, but the fact that we brought Lavia on and Reece had to go to centre half, Maresca needs huge credit for getting his subs right and not sitting and not taking a point. He's gone for it. Fortune favours the brave. And boy, was he brave. And in the end, you're waiting for that last-minute winner. He's tracked that far post. He's gone in. Enzo's pass. I didn't realise how good the pass was until I reflected on it. It's the move from Caicedo into Lavia, out to Gittins, into Enzo, Cucurella into Enzo, and the movement. It was a beautiful goal, and yes, that's why I love Chelsea. That's why I love football.
Yeah.
Esteval, not even just to arrive at the back post, a finish on his weaker foot, which I think he made look easier than it was. But like Jay says, it was the move. It started with Sanchez and it came all through to the right. But the pass from Moises Caicedo, I mean, we'll get onto Moises Caicedo's performance, which was gigantic.
Yeah.
But that pass, this is just sums Moises Caicedo up. He knows exactly where the two Liverpool players are and where the Chelsea player is. And without even looking, he plays that ball perfectly. And we've beaten the press and we're away. Yeah. And that leads to the goal.
Yeah, and this is why he's right now the most complete midfielder in the league. And this is a long time coming, this praise. And I feel like it's just starting to see the masses and the people that aren't Chelsea fans. But when you've been watching Caicedo last season, you'll see this is exactly what he's been doing. He's added some goals to his game. We've seen long shots at, Old Trafford. We've seen it against Tottenham, even though it was disallowed in the away game.
Recently.
Brentford, the halfway line effort. Now, obviously, this one. But it's the passing. It's the ability to receive the ball off the defenders whilst being pressed. Ability to scan, to know his surroundings, which is one of the most difficult things I think to do in football, is when you're in the pressure cooker of the midfield. You've got players left to your right, the speed of the Premier League, the pace of it, the physicality of it, and he's able to navigate around that, as well as tackling, intercepting, and the passing, like you said. So what doesn't he have? He has everything. So he's just a top player, and he's been putting in top performances for ages. And I feel like it's good to see people now kind of paying attention to that, and he's getting noticed for it because, yeah, he's unbelievable.
We were speaking off air, Jason. It's not even just he was unbelievable. Chelsea fans know he's been doing this for the last year and a half, and for whatever reason, he hasn't been getting the credit he deserves. Last year, he should have been in the Team of the Year, ahead of Ryan Gravenberch.
Yeah.
However, when you win things and when you're champions, that gets looked upon other than just individual performances. Yeah. But this is consistency now from a player that has been reaching these levels for a long period of time.
Yeah, and I speak on behalf of, I think, most Chelsea fans, including you guys, that this has been coming 18 months or so. The problem I think that he had, and a lot of Chelsea players and us fans have suffered from, is the fact that we spent so much money. Caicedo came in, West Ham away, come off the bench, wasn't fit, give a penalty away, give a ball away, had a really poor start to his Chelsea career, and it took time to gather up, I think, respect. And respect in football takes a long time. Because we kind of spent so much money, it's like, well, Caicedo's obviously a flop. That's the outside eyes looking on the inside. We've been on the inside. We've seen these performances. This is not a big shock. I'm delighted that he has continued to improve that and elevate his performances. But this has been coming. Yep. This has been coming. And there is not a better ball-winning midfielder in the country right now. I'd say for the last year, maybe 18 months. Snaps into tackles, right? Sometimes he gets it wrong, right? There was a penalty he gave away recently.
Bayern Munich, I believe.
Right? So that he gets, but that you don't want to take that away from his game. Yeah. But his receiving the ball, him and Lavia, the relationship they've struggled to build up because of Lavia's injuries. If that gathers pace, watch out. By the way, watch out for those two, that pivot, because if those two sit together, wow. And I've seen glimpses. We've all seen glimpses. Yeah. And against Liverpool in particular, for some reason.
He's always there.
Against Anfield. Right?
Lavia turns up again.
I don't know what that is. 2-1 turned up. Yeah. Turned up off the bench. But back to Caicedo. Right now, he's in the top 5 midfielders in the world. And you watch his performances continue to elevate, and you watch everyone outside Chelsea go, wow, where's he come from? I'll tell you where he's come from. He's been here. He's been here for seasons now.
You haven't been watching Chelsea enough.
Not closely
You haven't been
enough.
watching Chelsea closely enough, or you've been taking results away.
Or maybe public opinion or pundit opinion that maybe someone Gravenberch has been better. Good player.
Good player.
Can't do what Caicedo does.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of players out there that can do what Moises Caicedo does. We'll get on to the Lavia, Caicedo midfield in just a second. But Jamie Carragher obviously came out, and said that Declan Rice is a better midfielder because of the ball. He's better with the ball at his feet. Yeah. I love Declan Rice, right? I think he's an absolutely outstanding midfielder. I think it's so difficult to compare the two. They play two completely different positions. Yeah. If you're playing in Moises Caicedo's position, you pick Moises Caicedo. If you want an 8, you probably go Declan Rice. But do you think Moises Caicedo is underrated with the ball at his feet? Because I do, and I can't understand why people are saying he can't pass as well as he does. Have you seen him on the ball?
Yeah. He's criminally underrated in terms of that. When you want a midfielder to be able to play through the lines. You want a midfielder who's able to play through blocks and through teams, and that's exactly what he's able to do. He's able to play those hard passes. Don't get me wrong, Declan Rice is a great kind of deliverer of the ball from set pieces, from dead ball situations to free kicks. We've seen that as well. That's something he has over Caicedo. But in terms of open play, when you receive the ball under the press, can you turn and find solutions that are not the easiest to find? He's better at Declan Rice in doing that. And that's why Declan Rice plays next to Zubimendi. You know, because Zubimendi is meant to be the orchestrator a little bit in that role, and Declan Rice is more the athleticism and kind of gets up and down the pitch. Caicedo is both. Yeah. He is the athleticism, he gets up and down the pitch, and he orchestrates. He picks up the ball in that single pivot at times when Enzo's a bit further forward, and he plays through the line. So in terms of being a complete player in open play, that's where Caicedo is stronger for me.
So let's get on to Lavia and Caicedo then. You mentioned it earlier. That centre midfield partnership, it's so difficult to judge because obviously Romeo Lavia is never fit, right? But that is a player capable of reaching those levels when he's only just come back from injury. How scary, Jace, could that midfield partnership be? And that's Chelsea's strongest by a country mile when they're both fit.
Yeah, and the problem we've all got is that we have seen glimpses, and when those glimpses show themselves, they are so beautiful and effective, right? We haven't seen enough of it.
Yeah.
So we can all get excited about it, but Lavia staying fit now is key. If we're going to really challenge in and around those top positions this season, we need a Lavia. And he showed at the weekend how brilliant he can be, how he receives the ball on the half turn. He understands it's such a difficult position to play where you receive the ball. When you receive the ball, you're back to their goal. You can only play one way. He has the ability to turn, swivel, and open up play. So he has got a vision behind him, almost like an owl, right? Yeah. Almost like an owl in the middle of the park. Yeah. But those two together. But what we did at the weekend, we played 2 8s. So we had Gusto playing slightly higher, Enzo playing slightly up, and Moises was the one that sat the deeper of the 3. Right? Yes, they come in support when we're out of possession, but when we're in the ball, that was our Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai could not deal with it. We absolutely passed through. And the evidence of that is the goal, the Moises goal, where actually Gusto gets to the half-turn and he's playing slightly higher, half-turn, pops a little ball in, and then we're in behind their midfield. How many times did we see space like that in the first half? It was so free, their midfield, but Lavia's slightly different. Lavia he's that one that can travel. So he's more of an 8 that can travel from deep areas. Enzo hasn't really quite got the energy to do that. I'm not sure Gusto's got the ability to do that. No. But what you've got with the two of them, you've got one that can pick the passes, and then you've also got Lavia that can spin, also travel, and then pick a pass and get on his bike. I haven't seen enough of those two together. And that, if we can see that between now and New Year, if he stays fit, we will cause a lot of problems in that middle of the park.
This is very similar to the Mateo Kovacic-Kante partnership in terms of ball carrying, dribbling. That's what Lavia kind of brings to the table. And then Caicedo, he speaks for himself. I think when it comes down to that midfield, they were a pack of hyenas against Liverpool. The man-to-man press, the way that they just... It felt like we were playing with 12 or 13 men and Liverpool, had 10 and they had a red card. That's how overpowering it was. There was no space. I don't think I saw McAllister win a duel against our midfielders. I don't think I really saw Gravenberch win a duel either. They were so good. And fair play, massive credit to Maresca for setting up that blueprint tactically. He's shown it against Enrique for PSG. He's showed in big games against big clubs what he can do there. But fair play to those players for actually implementing it, because the work that they got through, the wingers tracking back, it was just... Honestly, it was insane. That's when you're really proud of your team, when you're just seeing them really graft like that, whilst they also show the quality as well. They didn't skip a beat. Yeah, it was a tactical masterclass from Enzo Maresca. And I think Gusto needs a shout-out as well for playing in central midfield when he's a right-back. And he has struggled recently. And he was a big part of that first goal. But the Caicedo turn, we haven't even spoken about really how good the goal was. Oh. I know you mentioned we've seen it a lot from him. But to do that, how are defenders not learning? You cannot give Moises Caicedo space on the edge of the box.
Liv, I think now the genie's out the bottle, right?
They won't be anymore.
I think we've probably seen the last of those free strikes.
They're backing off.
Yeah, I think we've probably seen the last of that now, because if you didn't... Against Brentford, he was on the edge of the box and they were all deep. If you remember, Garnacho cuts the ball back, which they've all gone that way and then they can't get out. I think from now on, when you're building from a deeper position, I think that there will be... Someone's got to come out. I mean, how one of Konate or Van Dijk have not... Someone take some responsibility. What made me laugh was Van Dijk's gone with Gusto.
Yeah.
So Gusto's run, he's there.
Yeah.
And he's like, close the ball. The most important thing on a pitch is always the ball, right?
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, less of the two evils. Don't let him shoot. Make the pass. Gusto doesn't score goals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He don't score goals.
Yeah.
But I think we've probably seen the last of those wonder strikes from those free areas. He may score many more, but not as easy as there was against Liverpool.
And that's so important against low blocks. I remember we had it for years with Frank Lampard, we had it with Essien. When you've got midfielders that can strike the ball from range and they actually have to come and close you, they take themselves out of that block and they take themselves out of their position where they feel safe, and then it opens up gaps. And then Caicedo will happily just play that pass around the corner and now somebody else has got more space and then they can turn. So just having that respect for Caicedo's long-range shooting now is going to be brilliant.
I think we've all seen it. Everyone's seen it. If you haven't, more for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched that and I've watched the Estevao goal.
Yeah.
I reckon about over 1,000 times since it went in. I want to see a world, Jace, in which Reece James starts at right back, Caicedo and Lavia start at centre mid, Enzo starts in the number 10, and Palmer starts on the right. Are we going to see that anytime soon? And how key is Romeo Lavia to when Cole Palmer could come back and play football for us?
Well, there's such a loaded question, Liv. Right?
Let's do the first part first. Let's do the first part.
Let me try and answer that as best I can. Because what we want to find ourselves, or what Maresca wants to find himself, is a situation where he has multiple choices for multiple positions.
Yeah.
What he had at the weekend, he was kind of stuck with who had to play at centre-half.
Yep.
He was stuck.
Yeah.
And he was a little bit stuck in some ways. He could have played Reece in there and Gusto at right back. He's gone the other way around. He's forced into a lot of decisions. What we want to see in the coming weeks, months, is him being in a situation where he has a number of choices in the higher areas.
Yeah.
In answer to the first part of your question, Lavia, he is crucial to how we want to play when teams perhaps come on to us. Maybe where teams sit deep and it's going to be horses for courses. We've got Champions League. Hopefully we get past Wolves, Carabao Cup. They come thick and fast. Then you get into December. Then you got Carabao Cup over there. You got midweek league games. You got Champions League. You got games over Christmas going into New Year. That's where you want the thickest squad.
Yeah.
And I think what you'll see, rotation. So you might see Enzo on the bench, which is fine.
Yeah.
You want to see Palmer in his best position at number 10, majoritarily. But then you've got Estevao growing into what we hope to see him. Got Gittins one side, Garnacho. Then you've got the pivot in the middle of the park. Is it going to be Enzo when we might want to be a little bit more, trying to get into areas where he can support Palmer? Or you got Lavia. That's what I want to see. But keeping everyone fit is going to be key.
Yeah.
Is the most important thing. Yeah. We were looking at the fixtures, so obviously Forest away after the international break. I don't think, obviously we haven't seen Cole Palmer play now. You know, he is injured, he's got a groin injury. There's a little clip of Hatto jumping on him at the final whistle when he sort of went to grab his groin. I hope there's absolutely nothing in that. But we don't know how serious this groin issue is. We don't know when Cole Palmer's going to be back. Yeah. Looking at our fixtures, Forest away, he's not going to play that, right? I don't think he's going to play that. Ajax at home, you could probably get away without him. Yeah. Sunderland at home, you could probably get away without him. Wolves in the League Cup, he wouldn't have played that anyway. Yeah. Spurs away, that's the 1st of November. Yeah. That is where, give Cole Palmer the rest of October off and have him back for Spurs away on the 1st of November. That should be the aim.
That's got to be the aim.
Yeah.
That's got to be the aim. I think Chelsea, with the fixture you've just read out, and players being available and less suspensions and less kind of factors that are in control in our control that we can negate for and not do. We need to be going on a run in that fixture list there. I think obviously Forest away 12:30 after an international break is never the best time slot, but there's no João Pedro going, there's no Caicedo going away. Hopefully there's a couple of players that have come back from
Reece James.
Reece James obviously not going away with England. Chalobah will be back from suspension, will be an option maybe off the bench, but maybe hopefully Badiashile Acheampong, who picked up knocks in this game. That's another thing the manager has had to deal with. Centre-backs going off injured that were playing brilliantly, by the way, and keeping a £130 million striker in Alexander Isak very quiet, limited to maybe one chance and an assist that I don't really feel like he meant. If these players can all be coming back into fitness for this run-in, we've got to look at this fixture run-in in the Premier League and say we can go and win 5 games in a row and put ourselves back in the position where we really should be. When you look at the quality that we have from our top players, and then yes, you've got young players that are going to be inconsistent. Hato was brilliant when he came on, only 19 years old, coming on at centre-back. But we should be closer to the top end of the league than we are the 5 points off Arsenal. So if we can go on a run and then Tottenham away, that's 3-point lane, I'm afraid. You have to win there.
Yeah, that is.
And then at home to Arsenal, I think it's the 30th of November.
Yeah.
That's the game you target as where are you now and how far off are you? Because they'll probably be top of the league by that stage as well.
Just trying to navigate our way through October. From experience, I'm guessing Maresca doesn't want to start him in his first game at Spurs. Well, I think there might be the Sunderland on the bench.
Or he could start the League Cup. Maybe that's the game.
Or have him on the bench. Let's see how things go. Bring him on the last half an hour. I think there'll be moments he'll want to introduce him again, getting up to speed. What you don't want to see is him start his first game out for 6 weeks, that's what it'll be by that stage, against Spurs away. I think we might start to see bench appearances. If we're struggling against Southampton last half hour, when he comes, even if we're struggling or win against Wolves in the League Cup, bring him on for the last 25 minutes. I think that's what we might see, and that, I think, will show his hand a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's what makes the win against Liverpool as well all the more impressive when you do it like Matisse says, with those centre-back options, which we will get into a little bit later, and without Cole Palmer. Yeah. That's like Liverpool losing Van Dijk, Konate, any other defenders they had to replace them, and Mohamed Salah or Alexander Isak. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so impressive. And largely it was down to Enzo Maresca. I think, over the last few weeks, he has been probably fairly criticised. He's come out himself and said he's made some mistakes in the decisions he's made in games. However, he got that spot on, didn't he, Jace? He got it spot on.
You can't argue with anything he did.
Yeah.
You can't argue. Every move he made, and you can see there was some killers. When you saw Gusto in midfield, what is that about?
Yeah, because I looked at that and thought, what on earth is going on here?
I know, but he got it right, because Gusto wasn't a defensive mid. He was an 8. He was
actually playing in midfield.
Slightly playing, And I think Maresca, give him huge credit for that. That is a A+ performance right there.
For me, Matisse, I don't know whether you agree, the best decision he made during that game was the big decision when Badiashile went off injured. Yeah. He had Hato on the bench. He could have easily gone like for like. The decision to bring on Romeo Lavia into midfield and drop Reece James into centre-back and have Gusto go at right-back was absolute genius. And I was watching that going, oh, gosh, because Reece James, let's face it, he's played in a back 3, but he's never played in a centre-back 2. I mean, we know what Reece James can do. But for you, was that his most outstanding decision on the day?
Yeah, because I feel like Hato and Josh together is a bit of a risk. 2 teenagers next to each other. You want a bit of leadership, you want a bit of experience. And I feel like James, even though he's never played there before, his positional versatility is ridiculous. He played left side centre-back against Newcastle last season in a 3. He's played right-back, he's played wing-back, he's played centre-mid. At this point, it's just whether or not his body allows him to play up front or wing. He could play anywhere. He's a proper footballer. There's not many things Reece James can't do, and I'm struggling to think of what he can't do right now. This is why we hold him in such high regard. This is why when, we talk about the best right-back in this league, it was always him. It's just putting together that consistency, playing week in, week out, and there's no question when it comes to crossing, when it comes to 1v1 defending, when it comes to aerially, he wins his headers, he wins his duels. He's a great shooter, striker of the ball. He's just a fantastic footballer. So when he went in there, I didn't really worry about him, to be honest, because I just knew that he was capable of playing there in that position if he had to, even though, it's never been done.
He is. I mean, I think genuinely, if he hadn't have had the injury issues he had, given the levels he was showing before those injuries, I actually think we have been robbed of the greatest right-back in Premier League history. Like Matisse said, there is nothing Reece James can't do. He is the most... This is why, Kyle Walker, a lot of people talk about Kyle Walker as the best right-back of all time. He says Reece James is the most complete right-back the Premier League has ever seen. And is there many players, Jace, like Matisse says, that can play any of those positions Matisse just mentioned and be 10 out of 10 in all of them?
No, it's a rare commodity that you've got there, and he won Player of the Year. I know we know this when he went on loan to Wigan. He played vast majority of his game in the midfield. He can play at right back, he can play in a 3, he can play in a 4. I actually didn't know it was the only time he's ever played in a 2 defence, because I've seen him play centre-half before. And he might can play tricks on you. I think I've seen him play it. So when he slotted in there, it wasn't even I didn't think about that. I thought that's a good move.
Yeah.
That defensively makes us more solid. When you say we've been robbed, I totally understand and get what you're saying. But you know what? He's still young. We still might have another 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Who knows how long he's going to be? So that player that you just described that we may well have been robbed of,
we still might
we still might get to see, fingers crossed, injuries permitting.
Do you know what I actually think? I think had he have been fit this whole time, he might have been playing at Real Madrid and Trent Alexander-Arnold might have been still at Liverpool because Reece James is that good. He said, I didn't expect to play centre-back. It's one of the positions I've never played before. It's high-level football. I had to adapt and play the best football I could. Have you seen the tackle on him as well, Matisse?
Which tackle?
Half of his tattoos come off, basically. The reason he hasn't got an international due to, we're thinking, but I'm actually hoping and praying. I mean, I'm glad because Thomas Tuchel would have played him in every single game. It's good to see Reece James back to his best. And actually, physically wise, Matisse, he actually looks in the best physical shape that I have seen him. And it's no surprise he's played the longest amount of games we've seen for years.
Exactly. He's not been getting injured. And that, massive credit to the medical team, massive credit to Maresca, because no one could really keep Reece James available over the last few years. He managed him. He kind of worked with him. It's very clear that he's done that. And he's integrated him slowly. There's been times where he's not started a game and he still sometimes doesn't start a game. He's still looking after him. And people be like, we want to see Reece James. The decision to play him as a right-sided centre-back in a 3 whilst Cucurella does the running. Cucurella takes the workload on physically. You want to see Reece James overlapping. You want to see Reece James crossing. But all of those sacrifices that we don't see Reece James doing those things is to keep him fit. And as long as he's on that pitch, we're a stronger team, regardless of whether he's playing in his quote-unquote best position. So massive credit. And if Lavia and Fofana can follow in the footsteps of what Reece James has done in terms of their rehabilitation, then we're going to be a lot better off. And that's got to be the plan now. Because I don't really think about Reece James as an injury-prone player anymore at Chelsea. I just think of him as just Reece James, and that's just brilliant.
I just wonder, just thinking about what you've said there, Matisse, what we just had the conversation about, I just wonder whether, as the years start to progress, and fingers crossed Reece stays, may he then become a centre-half? Might we be looking at the transition? Because if you think about defensively, he's got a right-back and midfield. He has the ability to play in the triangle, if there is such a thing. And I just wonder whether long-term, there might well be a position that we haven't really thought about for Reece, that actually, naturally, he may well find himself body-wise. I mean, defensively-wise, he can deal with it. Pace-wise, he can deal with it. Physicality, 100% he can deal with it. I just wonder whether over the coming years, we might see a slight change. I don't know. I'm just curious.
The position I feel like you're thinking of is John Stones, Man City, when he played in midfield and Pep had him going from centre-back into midfield constantly. That might be the one, because I even think back to David Luiz, brilliant ball-playing defender in a back 3. Obviously, you maybe wouldn't play Reece James in the middle, but that Azpilicueta role, maybe to step into midfield, to play those crosses from deep from Morata when it was, others. That's a similar kind of area and zone that I can see him playing in. And he can still get forward, because if you're playing with that 3. So it all depends on the system and the manager. But yeah, I think there's definitely room for it.
One thing Matisse just touched, I now don't think about Reece as an injury-prone player. And that's happened slowly, but actually when you think about it, a year ago, we're still worried, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at Reece James, armband, want to see him in every single Chelsea best team, but I understand that can't always happen.
Yeah, and a fair play to Enzo Maresca as well, because I know I've been sat here going, I want to see Reece James in every game. And even now, he's still sometimes on the bench. And actually, that's fair play to Maresca for managing his minutes. We know he was fragile. We knew he needed that, even though we wanted to see him.
It's a tough one, right, for the manager, because he knows that.
Yeah.
Maresca will know he wants to play him, but it's like, you need to just... What else can I do to ensure that Reece is fit for this game, and moving into 2026 that he's fit for that game? So, yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, fair play to Enzo Maresca. I mean, after the Benfica game, obviously, that was a positive. The performance wasn't as good. I think we just got over the line we needed to in the Champions League. Yeah, you got the win. It was massively important after losing that first game. But there were a few doubts before that over Enzo Maresca. Matisse, has he silenced those doubters now, especially with that performance against Liverpool?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I I criticise his managerial kind of substitutions and management of games in isolation, but still fully throughout that period behind the manager, because I feel like he's proven enough with the trials and tribulations he faced last year with injuries, with, you know, players maybe not having the depth required in certain positions, maybe up front, injuries to Gu, Jackson having to play Neto as a false nine. He's shown already that he's met the objectives and the targets, getting Champions League football, winning 2 trophies. He's shown big game management against top coaches. Yes, he's still learning. Yes, he's still young. Yes, he's in his first Champions League campaign as a manager, so he's learning the rotation between the 2 competitions and learning that down to 10 men, you don't just change your entire principle and ideology of the football that you want to put out there. But at the same time, that's what we signed up for when he came in. So I think he's shown more than enough to be getting the backing. And look at that at the end, like the passion, the connection that he's got for the game and the team. You don't just rip that apart and replace it with someone new. You don't know who that person would even be coming in the first place. And I feel like he's onto a good thing. He's showing, and he's self-reflective. He said after the mistakes that he made that, you know, I should have done better there, I should have done better here. And that's all you need from a coach. As long as they're not overly stubborn and they actually learn from the mistakes that they make, they won't make them again. So he's a young coach, and I think he's done brilliantly with this team, and he's put us in a much better, healthier position. So absolutely,
yeah. And game's gone. If you can't celebrate a 95th minute winner against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge, running down the touchline to celebrate with your 18-year-old wonder kid that scored the winner, and he gets sent off. I mean, he'll absolutely take it, because what a celebration it was. And I'd want to see him do that every time we score a winner and take a red card for it, if that's what it means.
What annoyed me about that is, I understand it's a rule or whatever you want to call it. What really annoyed me is I didn't hear him to speak after the game.
Yeah.
I reckon that was his choice.
You're not allowed to.
Oh, you're not allowed to?
Suspended for the post-match.
He probably wouldn't have wanted to.
And that's the thing, right?
It's crazy.
That's the thing. I don't understand that. Willie Caballero, for us, you know, no disrespect to Willie, right? And I know he didn't want to, you know, he must have thought, oh, God, I've been thrown into like all these things. I want to hear what Maresca's got to say, and we're robbed of that.
Especially after that managerial performance. You want to hear from him, because he was brilliant in that game as well. So, crazy.
So this show is brought to you by our partners at talkSPORT Bet. New customers get an exclusive offer of £40 in free bets when you bet £10. You can go to talksportbet.com/Inside Chelsea to claim this offer now. Matisse, you touched on it earlier. Going into this game, I don't think anyone was that confident, particularly because of the centre-back injury crisis with Trevor Chalobah out, suspended as well. I think it's fair to say our 5th and 6th choice centre-back, whether Josh Achiampong should be a 5th or 6th choice centre-back is another question. But let's start with Achiampong, because 19 years of age, we saw him do it at Stamford Bridge against Crystal Palace. Locked up Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's one of the best strikers in the league, to then do the same to Alexander Isak. What a performance from him. Yeah,
ridiculous. And especially the week before having the mistake against Brighton when he came on. He came into the game cold. Chelsea were already having a bit of a nightmare anyway, defensively. So he came in, had that mistake, and a lot of people maybe jump to conclusions and feel like, you know, he's been overhyped or he's not as good as people think he is. He is a top prospect. He's a top prospect. You know, he's got the physical kind of side to him where you see the height, you see the strength, you see the pace to cover ground, almost like what you lack when Wesley Fofana's not available in that back line, that pace, that recovery pace, because you do want to play a high line, you do want to counter press, you do want to be up the pitch, you need that pace in defence. And his ball carrying ability. I know people, you know, will see him do it and they'll be a bit worried, risky, but you've got to take risks. This is high-level football. You have to take risks. Everybody on that pitch is playing for big clubs in the Premier League, and the margin for error is so low. For him to pick up the ball and carry it and dribble past players into midfield and then release it at his age, with, you know, the experience that he has, not much of, it's unbelievable. It can't be taken for granted at all.
that's what you were most impressed with, or not most impressed, but we were speaking about it, and we saw him do it a couple of times, bringing the ball into midfield so confidently, shrugging off players that were trying to get the ball. It was just brilliant.
Well, you're talking about Reece James about, playing in different positions. We've all seen Josh play right back in the Conference League. I see him play centre midfield, so he's centre half, right? So he has got many strings to his bow. But the thing that really impressed me when he first really came to my attention, the first team, was in the Conference League. We played away, can't remember who at, but he used to stride and gallop, but it wasn't a sprint because he's got such long legs. He would carry the ball with such confidence. And this is high praise, and I don't want to put too much pressure on, but young Rio Ferdinand, when I used to see him at West Ham when he first got in the first team, he would carry the ball. They'd open up, and he would just travel, head up, and then pick the right path. He has got so much ability, and I'm a little disappointed, if I'm honest, that I haven't seen more of him. I remember when he played against Crystal Palace away last season, he was the best player on the pitch. Didn't see him for months again. Played against Crystal Palace first game of this season. It feels as though he's waiting, and I understand it, he's waiting for the opportunity, either a suspension or a load of injuries. I think that performance against Liverpool, and we said against Crystal Palace against Matisse, I think we're now looking at a player that actually, there's so many games coming up, is going to earn the trust of the manager. And it takes time. But we know how good he's going to be, but to earn that trust, I want to see more and more of him. I want to see the best centre-back partnership I can, what's available. But if Josh comes in, I'm not one of those that go, Josh, Acheampong's starting now.
You're excited.
I felt there was a couple of games ago, I can't remember which one it was. It was a home game, I split the Chelsea fans on the tube on the way in. And we were both saying, Acheampong to start today. And I said, I don't know whether Maresca quite... And he didn't trust him. I think that performance is probably going to be enough for the gaffer to go, yeah, go on, in you go.
Yeah.
Does he start against Forest after the international break?
He does for me, yeah. If he's fit and Badiashile is available as well, I think you keep that the same. Chalobah's back from suspension, obviously Tosin's come back from injury. But I think for me, you just kind of stick with those two. I think they've earned the right to play the next game. I think the only defender we have on the books right now that is kind of a certified starter is Levi Colwill. I think everybody else, I don't really have them ranked as 5th or 6th or 4th or 3rd. I don't think the form defensively with the individual errors this season, I don't think there should really be too much of a hierarchy between the rest of the 5. I think Badiashile, left-footed defender, we saw his passing, his ability to get out of the press, his right-footed kind of clips over to Cucurella in this game was absolutely fantastic. We've been lacking that. Hato, like we said, an emergency option almost, is meant to be deputy for Cucurella. He was really good when he came on. But Fofana's got to stay fit. Tosin, he's not great in wide areas. He's not the greatest when he's backtracking on a break and he has to kind of show someone on the outside. Chalobah, is he the best aerially? So I feel like they've all got enough couple strengths, but then weaknesses that kind of balance themselves out for an Acheampong to really just say, well, I can head the ball. I think I'm good enough on the ball. I'm quick. Why can't I start? There's no reason why not.
And then that's a tough game for Badiashile to come in as well and start. He's had his injury issues when he played. Sometimes he hasn't necessarily been great. But that performance against Mo Salah was good as well. Yeah,
he's also had, over the time he's had some really good performances, but some really iffy ones as well. And that was another big game for him because what you want all over the pitch, if you can, it's so difficult in the modern game, you want partnerships. Yeah. And you want partnerships with your left-hand side centre-half with your left-back or left wing-back, whoever it might be, 2 centre-halves, and then you build up partnerships. That partnership there, Josh Acheampong with Badiashile, those two, that's not a partnership you want to see against Liverpool. Boy, did they put in performances. Both of them very comfortable on the ball. The movement in midfield really helped, though. Those options that we had, we just spoke about, Caicedo offered himself, Enzo and Gusto playing slightly higher, so there was a little bit more of an angle, certainly to get out of that press, even though I thought Liverpool's press was pretty terrible. But going back to your original question there, Liv, we've then got Ajax. So I think we'll look at the team against Forest. The next game there is midweek against Ajax. I think what he'll have two teams he wants to pick, and I'd like to see, in particular the centre-half, being mixed about, because I think we're both, that Ajax game at home is a must-win game. Your best team plays there, for me, and I think he'll go with experience. I think Josh will miss out against the Ajax one, might start against Forest.
Might start again, only might.
But might, because I don't see him playing in both. And I think that if we're now having this conversation, I don't know, Trevor's going to come back. Trevor's not injured. We don't know the Badiashile situation. I'm guessing both him and Josh are okay. You've got Fofana coming back from suspension.
No, back from
head
concussed,
injury. I apologise,
concussion,
right?
yeah.
So you've got
options.
He's got options in there. I don't know how much you want to change at the back there, but my gut feeling is you'll see 2 different partnerships at the back. Maybe 3 players used in all. Maybe Trev might start both, because that tends to be his go-to centre-half right now.
Yeah.
How bright is the future for Josh Achiampong? And like Jace says, was that his moment against Liverpool? Not just to do it against a team like Palace, who, by the way, are a very good side.
Very, yeah.
But to step up like that against the champions at 19 years old and put in the performance he did, his future is absolutely huge. And he deserves, I think, to be starting now.
Yeah. I'd like to think it is a moment for him, because I feel like he's been knocking on the door, like you said, the previous performances. He's not put a lot of, he's not put a foot wrong too many times he's played. Yes, he's had a moment against Brighton, but that can happen. He's young. Defenders don't tend to peak until they're 25, 26, 27. And then going into their 30s, that's when they're probably at their best, potentially. So there's a lot of time on his side. I just hope that Chelsea, in the coming windows, make a bit of a decision on what they're doing at centre-back. Right now, I feel like we've got a lot of centre-backs. They are injured. That kind of forces Maresca's hand to play a certain pair. But if they are all fit, and we're talking about Achiampong getting minutes, it's very difficult when all of that experience and, Tosin, Chalobah, these other guys come in. It's very difficult for Achiampong to get that game time. So I do feel like Chelsea, and obviously Disasi is still on the books, Chelsea have got to trim that centre-back kind of situation down a bit.
Can I just step in there as well? Because when Levo got injured, it was during the transfer window, right?
Yeah.
A lot of Chelsea fans calling for another centre-half. We need another centre-half. I think we maybe need to give a little bit of credit to the decision-makers at the club. They've seen Josh. They say, no, we do not want to go and spend another 50, 60, 70 million pounds on bringing in a player. What that'll do, that'll stunt the growth of someone like Josh Achiampong.
The only thing I would say about that is they've barely played Josh since. So they had that right. So they're looking at the transfer window and they're going, right, we're not going to replace Levo Cole, or we think we've got enough cover, or we think that that's going to stunt Josh Achiampong's growth. But then they weren't playing Josh Achiampong. So how does that make sense? I understand now, he's had his performance, he's had a couple of really good performances. But for me, he should have been starting in the league and in big games way more than he has.
It takes time though. It is slow. When the chances go, he has never. Matisse made the word. He's never disappointed. You've never come away from watching any performance, whatever level, conference, Carabao Cup, whatever it is. I've never come away thinking struggled a bit there, right? And that takes time. But now we're showing actually that maybe there was that plan, that there will be a moment, there will be a time. No one expected to see Josh against Liverpool, right? No one. But he's now in you go. And that's the stunting of the growth I'm talking about. Had we bought another centre-half, Josh should have probably been on the bench. So I think we need to give a little bit of credit, saying we'll see how it goes, but to make that call not to go and buy that centre-half, and Levo Cole will be back, fingers crossed, before the end of the season. We don't know, but we'll see.
And also, what I would say about you, Jace, I will accept that if Josh starts to play more. If Josh starts to play more and we're seeing minutes from him, I will then accept that was maybe the reason.
What we need to see now, because he got chance in the Conference League, in the Champions League, those chances now are going to be smaller because we've let from that competition that. What we want to see is us continuing the Carabao Cup. That is absolutely crucial for us now, seeing Josh Achiampong develop as this young, potentially brilliant centre-half, playing regular minutes, starting and finishing games. That's where he will really force his way. I
think he's more than capable of playing against Paphos, Karabag. These are teams that we probably would have seen in the Conference League.
Flying in the Champions League right now.
Yeah, true. But I would trust him. Even Ajax are not what they was a few years ago as well. They're struggling a bit. I would trust him in these games. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe Barcelona is, but he just played Liverpool. So
I would trust him genuinely. I would trust him in most games. There is not many games that I look at and don't think he can handle it. He's shown he can handle it against Mateta, against Isak. To me, they're two of the best strikers in the league. The real test is Erling Haaland. Can you do it against Erling Haaland? That's everyone's test. My only worry with Josh Achiampong is he's a young, homegrown player. And we know what happens with good, young, homegrown players, and it doesn't end well. So let's hope there's an exception to that rule.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, because he was absolutely brilliant against Liverpool. I mean, that performance from every single player on that pitch was absolutely brilliant.
Do you know what, Liv? You can't. There was no one.
Not one.
I reflected the next day. and I watched the highlights and I watched all the extended highlights. There wasn't one player you looked at that didn't do something in that performance, right? And you need that against big teams.
Yeah.
In particular, the champions. You've all got to rock up. You've got to deliver 7, 8s, 9s out of 10s. We got 7s, we got 8s, we got 9s.
Yeah.
And we got, in Casada, we've probably got 9.5, 10. But
Yeah.
you need that, and they all delivered. Lots to like, Liv.
Lots to like. I like Mark Gu coming on and putting himself about and causing a few...
He's not afraid, the boy.
No, he's really not. The one frustrating thing on my behalf, apart from helping out Arsenal, is why can't we see that performance more often? I mean, we haven't lost a Premier League game since mid-March when we've ended the game with 11 players on the pitch, right?
Yeah.
It's key. We cannot play with 10 players, evidently. But why don't we see that performance more often, Matisse?
To ask for consistency is difficult when there's a lot of young 20, 21, 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds in the team that maybe have quite big roles, really, when there's injuries and suspensions. We're talking about Hattos, we're talking about Achampongs, Estevals, Garnachos, even though he's got a lot of experience, to be fair to him, Gittins. We're asking these players to be consistent, and that's not what you get at that age. You don't tend to get a lot of consistency. So, for me, we need our key players and our most experienced players to be fit and to be consistent and hopefully bring those other guys with them. And obviously we just have to cut out the individual errors as well and the mistakes and not have players sent off. But I think Chelsea have shown in big games on one-offs that, and this is why I back us for cups, and I think even Champions League, there's no reason why not. PSG struggled to almost qualify last season, the league phase, and then they went on to win it. I'll never count us out of a cup, but I think for the league, it's week in, week out. It's game after game, and that consistency's just got to be there. And I think when you're building and you're adding young players into an already young team, you're going to struggle to get that consistency.
Matisse makes a really good point there, and that is that, against PSG, against Liverpool, you've put in performances like that. But the game against Bayern, I watched that game, and we weren't too far off Bayern in terms of level of performance. The difference was with the inexperienced, maybe youngish players, mistakes, individual errors. If we cut those out, there's no sort of limit as to where this team can go, is there?
No, and I think that's the aim, isn't it? The aim is to be as consistent as you consistently be. I think also, I don't think it's any coincidence that actually we played against PSG, Liverpool and Bayern, 3 teams that are actually happy to come on to you. I think that they're prepared to do that.
Why can't every team do that?
Well, they won't.
No, I know.
We played against Brentford.
I know.
And I think the challenge now is the teams that come onto us. So we got Forest, right? Now, Ange actually played against Newcastle at the weekend. They were slightly more reserved. They're at home. The onus is on them to go in and pick up 3 points. I think that plays into our hands. Who knows what you might do? I see players against Brentford first half, Palace, West Ham. There's another one that rocked up our play, who played a 5 or a version of it.
Yeah.
We struggled. Dull, boring, slow football. That's the challenge for me, is to overcome those teams that sit with a lower block. How can we break them down?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to beat Forest after the international break, in a word?
Yeah, I'm confirmed with you.
Yeah.
Big Ange.
Big Ange. Will he still be in charge? That is the question. Right, that is it for another episode of Inside Chelsea. Thank you very much for your company. Obviously, thank you to Jason. Thank you to Matisse. We've had a great time. This has been my favourite episode of Inside Chelsea so far. We will see you after the international break. Bye-bye. Up the Chelsea.
Up the Chelsea.